Welcome to this presentation on Bermudagrass, the most widely used warm-season turfgrass species on golf courses here in the United States. Bermudagrass is believed to have originated in eastern Africa around the Indian Ocean. Bermudagrass is adapted to tropical and subtropical climates around the world. And in the United States, it's widely used on golf courses through the southern United States and is shown here by the green zone of adaptation. Within its adaptive range, Bermudagrass is commonly used on golf course greens, tees, fairways, and roughs. This photograph depicts a Bermudagrass used from tee to green. Bermudagrass is a low-growing, aggressive turfgrass that spreads through rhizomes and stolons. Bermudagrass stolons, which are shown here, spread rapidly across the soil surface. This picture is rather old, as I took it before the age of digital cameras, as you can detect by the box of film I'm using as a reference. Stolons give rise to new plants at the nodes, and thus are important in the establishment of Bermudagrass through sprigging, which we will discuss later in this presentation. Various types of Bermudagrass are used on golf courses. The first is Synanon dactylon variety dactylon. Synanon dactylon by itself is the Latin name for Bermudagrass. The common or variety dactylon is known as common Bermudagrass and is an aggressive, coarse-textured, open-growing Bermudagrass that is not normally looked upon as a desirable turfgrass species in golf situations. However, breeding efforts have produced cultivars of finer quality that are being used in more and more situations. And in some of those varieties are listed here. But for this presentation, we will consider common Bermudagrass as an undesirable type of Bermudagrass. In this picture, common Bermudagrass patches are evident in this hybrid Bermudagrass fairway. The patches appear coarser and are open compared to the hybrid Bermudagrass, which we will talk about in a second. Here, common Bermudagrass is invading a hybrid Bermudagrass collar. Again, notice the coarseness and aggressive growth habit of common Bermudagrass. Hybrid Bermudagrasses result from crosses between Synanon dactylon and Synanon transvalensis. Bermudagrass hybrids are widely used on golf courses and athletic fields. Tifway, sometimes referred to as 419, Tiff Green, also called 328, are examples of hybrids, as is Santa Ana, a commonly used hybrid in Australia. The hybrids are sterile and thus require vegetative establishment. The hybrids form a finer texture, higher density turf when compared to common Bermudagrass. This photograph provides a comparison between a hybrid variety on the left and a common on the right. This is an exaggerated comparison between common and a hybrid Bermudagrass. On top of this turf are common Bermudagrass stolons, and below it is a hybrid Bermudagrass growing at putting green height. Tifway is widely used on golf course fairways, like this one in Las Vegas, Nevada, or in this case on a golf course fairway in South Carolina, or here in Florida. If you are on a golf course in the southern United States and standing on a Bermudagrass fairway, the chances are probably 90% it is Tifway, or as it's otherwise known as 419. Tifway is also found on fairways throughout the world, like here on a golf course in the Algarve, or southern part of Portugal. Santa Ana is widely used in Australia on golf course fairways because of its excellent winter color retention and its relative high tolerance to salt conditions compared to Tifway. Important in any cultivar selection, no matter where you're at, is to evaluate it under local conditions to find out which ones perform the best. Tiff Green was bred for golf greens. It is not widely used now because the newer hybrids tolerate much lower mowing heights. Tiff Green has served as the clonal source for the selection of Tiff Dwarf, which is a widely used hybrid on putting greens. In addition, it has served as a primary source for other cultivar selections through induced mutation by irradiation. Tiff Dwarf, in turn, has served as a source for new clonal or vegetative selections termed ultra-dwarfs. The ultra-dwarfs are high shoot density hybrids that tolerate low mowing heights. The ultra-dwarfs have grown in popularity since the late 1990s. Management of these varieties, however, is closer to how we would manage creeping bentgrass than to the older Tiff Green and Tiff Dwarf. This Bermudagrass putting green was established at Tiff Dwarf. The patches or areas of the green that appear a lighter green are termed off-types or mutants. These off-types served as a source for selecting an ultra-dwarf. The ultra-dwarfs, which are used only on greens, were selected for their higher shoot density and ability to tolerate lower heights of cut. This is an ultra-dwarf green in South Florida. To give you a relative comparison, the putting green is an ultra-dwarf, and the lighter colored Bermudagrass that is encroaching from the collars is 328. This table gives you an idea of the evolution of Bermudagrass greens, from common types, then into hybrids like the 328s, and now into the ultra-dwarfs. Pinehurst No. 2, which is a famous golf course in North Carolina, is an example of the evolution of putting greens in the South. Originally, the greens at Pinehurst were sand greens. Here's a picture of one of those sand greens and how they were smoothed with a mat for putting. Then in the 1930s, they were grassed to common Bermudagrass. The greens were coarse and not much fun to putt on. The greens were converted to creeping bentgrass and then to an improved creeping bentgrass cultivar known as Pen G2 to provide a more desirable putting surface. Difficulty with creeping bentgrass was the summers were extremely hot and stressful to the bentgrass, and then, due to that, they were converted to the ultra-dwarfs, which give the desired playing quality of bentgrass, but it is a Bermudagrass. This table summarizes in general the management of Bermudagrass regarding mowing, frequency of mowing, and nitrogen use. In general, the nitrogen requirements of Bermudagrass are the highest of any warm season turfgrass used on golf courses. Fairways are often tiffway, mowed around 1/2 inch, with ultra-dwarf greens mowed less than 1/8 inch. Bermudagrass is not adaptive to low light conditions. On this green, you can see along the outer edges the shading pattern, along with the mowing pattern, has caused Bermudagrass decline. In this photograph, the shade pattern from the trees has caused a decline or loss of Bermudagrass turf. Bermudagrass is extremely sensitive to low light conditions. Low light or shaded conditions can result in rapid decline in Bermudagrass, even under optimum temperatures for its growth. On this putting green, Bermudagrass has little chance to survive. During late fall or winter, when temperatures become cool, Bermudagrass can go dormant, which is shown here. The green surround is Bermudagrass, which is brown and dormant, while the putting green is green, which is creeping bentgrass. In some instances, golf courses will overseed Bermudagrass with a cool season turfgrass to give it winter color. Winter overseeding is discussed in a presentation later in this module. As previously mentioned, While the common types of Bermudagrass are established by seed, the sterile hybrids are established vegetatively. The process is called sprigging. Stolonizing is basically sprigging, but you broadcast the sprigs or stolons. But more on that in a moment. Let's look at the process. Since the hybrid Bermudagrasses are sterile, they are propagated in a sod field. The turf is cut similar to what is shown here with the sod cutter. The sod is washed to remove the soil. I took this picture while I was in Chile. Once the sod is cleaned, it is run through a machine, washed, and basically shredded into sprigs. Now there are two ways of establishing sprigs, which I have mentioned previously. One is through stolonizing, which is essentially broadcasting these sprigs. The vegetative planting material is uniformly deposited on a moist but not wet soil surface. This usually requires from 5 to 10 bushels per 1,000 square feet. Sprigging, on the other hand, involves planting individual plants in furrows spaced 6 to 12 inches apart. This requires from 1 to 4 bushels of sprigs per 1,000 square feet, depending on the spacing within and between rows. Less plant material is required than for stolonizing. As you can see, we use a volume measure bushels, which is exactly like it says, no different than a bushel of apples or corn. In English units, we kind of understand this volume measurement, but internationally, what is a bushel in metric? It usually drives these guys nuts. These men are broadcast sprigging or stolonizing. And this is just a different view. Basically, they're establishing Bermudagrass to this practice tee. Often the sprigs are rolled and cut into the ground after stolonizing to get good soil contact. Sprigging, or cutting the sprigs into rows, is shown here on a golf course fairway in Florida. You can see the rows where the sprigging machine cut and placed the sprigs into those rows. These workers are establishing Bermudagrass by hand, planting the sprigs individually on this turf site, which is located in India. The established area should be rolled and irrigated as soon as possible after sprigging or stolonizing to reduce desiccation potential and promote growth. Top dressing can also enhance soil contact. This concludes this presentation on Bermudagrass.